Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And we always like to welcome in local leadership. And I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time down in the Lafourche area, especially these last few days, learning a lot about the people and certainly the one who represents them. We welcome into the program Lafourche Parish President Archie Chaisson. Archie, welcome back to the program.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Keith. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's one of those things I got to learn a little bit about. I got to spend some time in the medical community today and just talking about how much they appreciate what you guys do at your level and your team. And I know you never like taking credit. You're one of those people that always likes to thank your team. But just so you know, I want to let you know that the medical community is thankful and appreciative of what y'all are doing and how y'all are doing it together.
That's really cool to hear, Keith. Those guys have busted their butts the last year and a half through COVID. And we've tried to support them in every way possible, right? Whether it was working with other elected officials to cook meals for them during the height of COVID, whether it's reaching out to them for advice through certain things through the CEOs and some of our local docs. So it's good to hear that. And you're right. We have a great team, and I'm humbled every day to be able to lead this great community. And it's how awesome it is, right? Not only our docs, but all the folks we have in parish government, especially our guys in public works who are busting their butt. I know we're going to talk about the storm in a little bit. But our law enforcement guys who put on vests every day and go out and keep us protected, and whether they're changing flat tires like you and I were talking about a minute ago, or donning that vest and chasing down a drug dealer or a child abuser, our community is so awesome. And I really, it's one of the cool things that I get to wake up every day and know that I get to lead such a great group of people and sit at the hierarchy of it. But our community is what really makes us great. It really is.
Yeah, and I tell you, there's such a special group of people and just so very thankful, appreciative, and helpful. And like you mentioned, you're just passing by and seeing somebody stopping to help someone with a flat tire. Two other police officers come by and stop to do that. It really just kind of warms my heart. It's just where we see people, not necessarily, we only see them as the guys who are pulling us over for a ticket, or the guys that are or the men and women who are not necessarily in our best interest, but they truly have the best interest of the community, and the community itself is just a wonderful place to live and be.
No doubt.
Yeah, so one of those things that I know is important, you guys have had a whole lot of communication, and y'all spend a great deal of time communicating about all of the things. We've had some changes here. Has there been anything that's had to be canceled here of late here in Lafourche Parish, or some changes?
Yeah, I think everything is still very contingent upon what we're seeing with COVID, right? And the Delta variant and just regular old COVID, right? As we continue to work through that data and the positive cases we've seen. Unfortunately, we've seen some things in the area get canceled. The Chac Bay Fire Department announced, I think Monday or Tuesday, that they had canceled this year's Gumbo Fest for the second year in a row because of the virus, which is tough. As we just talked about, all the great people we have in our community, our volunteer firefighters, are some of the best, whether it's Chac Bay, Thibodaux, Lockport, Raceland, our Fire District 3 down in Bayou, or our guys out in the 6th Ward, the Zalmans, Bayou Blue. It's tough to see that happen. We know that they rely on that fair to help run that department, along with a small parcel fee. They're not tax based like a lot of the other departments are, or get money from anywhere else, right? It's a community that rallies around themselves for fire protection. So seeing them have to cancel that, seeing things like Shrimp and Petroleum Festival out in Morgan City, which is not really a Lafourche event per se, right? But we have a lot of people that go back and forth. Seeing things like that get canceled are tough. And I think we're going to see some more of that. We have a huge festival season through the back end of September, through October, all the way into November. Thibodaux Fireman's Fair was rescheduled for the late part of October. I don't know if that's going to happen. There's some talks about that show not going on as well. So I think you're going to see some more of those official announcements come out, again, just because of the virus. And as case counts continue to kind of fluctuate up and down, there's still some uncertainty about a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things, and to go back to talk about what we started at the top of the program, the resiliency of the people is rather amazing, and how kind of genuine. They're upset about having to cancel those things, but immediately start figuring out what to do next and how they can do it a little differently. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, we are. And we saw that last year after some of the fairs and festivals got canceled in the height of COVID. We saw, I know, like, I go back to the Chac Bay guys, but they did, shrimp boil, plate lunches, kind of the go sort of thing. So did the guys at the Rose Civic Center, the Bayou Civic Club with the French Food Festival. And I think you're going to see more of that happen. And guess what happens? They had a line out the door every day to try to get some of the food that they would have gotten at the festival because they know how good it is, and they know that our community needs the help, so they tend to rally around ourselves. And again, how great we are that we can do that.
Right. Yeah, as we only have about a minute and a half left in this particular segment, is there any projects that have had any changes or impacts here of late for you guys developmentally?
Yeah, I think we've seen a whole host of projects, kind of get delayed as the construction industry deals with COVID, just like everybody else. As employees have either contracted it or quarantined, we've seen some kind of bottlenecks in some projects here and there. Nothing that's going to be detrimental, nothing that's going to throw us completely off steam, but just it's every facet of the project, right? Not only the guys on the ground building it, but the supply chain to try to get things here, parts, pumps, engines, just plastic pipe for culverts and things like that. It's had a trickle down effect throughout kind of our community.
Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing or hearing with where we are with COVID right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic, I guess, somewhat after yesterday's numbers. We get our weekly positivity rates kind of reworked on Wednesday, and we've kind of seen a fluctuation. Right, we were in the 17% range, kind of fluctuated up and down by a few points over the last probably 3 weeks. We had jumped up to 18% last week. Was a little scary. We kind of had a big chunk of positive cases come through last week. But this week, yesterday, when they released the data, we dropped all the way back down to 17.2, which is hopefully the beginning of a trend. We've seen kind of case counts level off. We haven't seen some huge spikes this week. In fact, this week we actually had a single day with double-digit numbers, not triple digits, which is hopefully, again, the beginning of a trend. Hospitalizations region-wide have dropped over the course of the week. So have hospitalizations in Lafourche. They've kind of dropped off over the last couple of days by a few, which is a good thing. And still the number I like to point out, and I know we've talked about this before, Keith, is, of the 170 people in the hospital region-wide, plus or minus, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but only about, I think 16 or 19 of those were actual vaccinated people. Proves that the vaccine works, right? Going to keep you out of the hospital, going to keep you probably out of a casket, which is the end goal at the end of the day, and going to keep you there with you and your family. So it's why, as many leaders across the parish have talked about, not only medical professionals, but Dr. Clunes talked about it at Nichols. I know our sheriff has talked about it. Our school board superintendent has talked about it. Vaccines are kind of the likely way that we're going to help control this. I think herd immunity is eventually going to play a role. I think we're about 15 or 16% of the population has had it. So when you couple that with about the 37% vaccination rate, we're pretty close. We're a little over half, which is a good thing. We're getting there slowly but surely. But again, we're at that tight pickle, like we talked about in the previous segment about, it's still causing cancellations to events. Right. People are still a little worried to go out there and get in mass numbers. You've seen a whole host of things get canceled around New Orleans, including concerts and indoor events around the Smoothie King Center and the Superdome. It was fun to see people in the Dome Monday night for a Saints game, which was a good thing. Kind of somewhat back to normal. So it's something that we're going to continue to watch, something that we continue to talk to our hospital CEOs about and our local medical professionals as ways we can still, get people to think about the vaccine. And again, that's a decision between you, your doc, and God. I know as the politician, people tend to not trust the government, and it's hard for people to say, well, Archie said to go get it, so let's go get it. So we've started to work with local docs to help, get their medical professional opinion out there. Nichols released a couple of videos with a couple of Colonel alums that are now doctors at Thibodeau Regional. You've seen Oshner through Oshner St. Anne release some videos with some docs from the Oshner campus, especially in the way of OBGYNs. There's a lot of fertility concerns out there about women, so they were able to debunk some stuff. But you're always going to have differing opinions about that, and that's okay, right, Keith? In our world, I'm not going to condemn anybody because they didn't get it, just like I would hope they don't condemn me for getting it. And it's something that we're just going to have to continue to work through as a community, and hopefully something that will get better as time goes on.
You're talking about some of the creative ways that we're doing and expressing that concern about the numbers and letting people know how many people are vaccinated versus unvaccinated, those that are really severely ill or not. The Superdome is doing something very interesting this particular weekend. They're actually offering COVID vaccinations for people as they're going in to the Superdome. I thought that was very interesting. It's just another very creative way to say listen, we believe that vaccinations are the best way to curb the spread of the disease. And if we can do that, then you can come to the game if you would like to come and get your vaccination. So I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, and look, you've seen those all across the state, right? The governor rolled out the shot at $1 million lottery, which, I don't know that I was a huge fan of, that we used federal taxpayer dollars to entice people to go get shots. But hey, if that's what he thought he had to do, then that's what he had to do. I think the most creative one was out in New Orleans, where they gave you a shot for a shot. When you got a vaccine, you got a coupon for a local barroom, and then you could walk down the street and get a shot of whatever your favorite alcohol was. And after the hurricanes this weekend, I may take New Orleans up on that. But
it's whatever motivates us, right?
That's right. And look, and you got to laugh at some of this stuff, right, Keith? We've been dealing with this for so long,
right?
And so many different levels, from ups and downs of losing friends and family. You got to find a little bit of humor in it all at some point to keep us all sane. But look, whatever works, right? We've tried to focus in on the medical professionals, because people will tend to believe a doctor over a politician or anybody else out there. But again, talk to your local doc. If you think it's right for you, if you have any questions, do your research. Do it from a credible source. Don't really believe everything you read on WebMD and Wikipedia, because that's not always right. But if you find some good, most of those docs are going to publish their stuff on reputable medical journals, which is where we should be looking at. But again, just something that we're going to have to continue to work through as a community.
Let's talk a little bit about what you and your administration are doing in preparation for what looks to be a named storm and a hurricane coming towards our coast.
Yeah, I thought we were going to kind of get lucky this year, Keith, after the 7 or 8 of them we dealt with last year. But we started to watch the models late yesterday and into the day, and we wrapped up our 2 o'clock call with the National Weather Service today, and kind of had our first parish unified call with all of our partners across, from the sheriff's office to the schools to the levee districts to the Port Commission, kind of trying to figure out where we were going. Right. This is the time to really think about your game plan and where you're going to go. This is going to be a quick approach storm, right? By the time this thing comes off the tip of Cuba at some point tomorrow, midday, probably mid-afternoon, the first impacts, based on the call we had with the National Weather Service today, we could see is late Saturday night. So you're going to have a short window to really think about hunkering down or where you're going. So now's the time to really think about that. If you're going to leave, based on the current forecast, which I don't anticipate changing a whole lot when you look at both the European model and the GFS model, and all the spaghetti plot models that are out there right now. It seems to coalesce somewhere between Lafayette and us. So we're going to, as wide as this thing is going to be, probably as fast as it's going to intensify because of the warmer Gulf waters, we're going to see some impacts here locally. How bad is it going to be as far as storm surge and wind? We're not quite sure yet. That'll come more tomorrow as it gets into the Gulf, and those models kind of can really pick up on a center of circulation and the intensity forecast across the Gulf. But now's the time to really think about that. Where are you going to go? Are you going with family and friends? Are you thinking about coming to a parish shelter? If you are, remember what you have to bring with you, right? We are in, as we just talked about, still in a COVID environment. So we're going to have you wear a mask for your protection, the protection of everybody else in the shelter. While vaccines are not going to be required, we are going to have the mask there for you. We have to bring those 3 to 5 days of food and water and medicine, and clothing, something to sleep with or on. It's going to be the Race and Recreation Center that we all know too well, and that gym floor is not all that comfy, right? It's not supposed to be the Hilton. It's supposed to keep you safe for about 48 hours till the storm passes, and we can kind of start to get power back on and get people back home, depending on the intensity. But start to think about that sort of stuff. Start to think about, do you have enough medicine? Do you have enough food and water? Do you have enough battery storage? If the power goes out, how are you going to charge your mobile electronics? Things like that. And then just continue to watch the weather. Continue to figure out where this thing's going to go over the next 24 hours and really make some plans. All of our self-fill sandbag locations are going to open up across the Lafourche Parish tomorrow at about noon. We're going to release that graphic with all the locations very early tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to get together again with all of our stakeholders prior to the call with the state and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security to really talk about evacuations and that timing. I would fully anticipate you see some voluntary and mandatory evacuations coming south of the floodgate. And then depending on the track and the intensity, we may increase that to people within mobile homes that are maybe not wind rated or maybe not strong enough. Again, depending on the track and the intensity of that storm that we see develop tomorrow.
Yeah, one of those things where people that want to be able to get those sandbags, what is the website that they can go to so they can find that out?
Yeah, so they can follow us on our Lafourche Parish Government Facebook page. If you just search Lafourche Parish Government, it'll pop up. Or you can go to www.lafourchegov.org. We will have our emergency page up and running probably at some point tomorrow, and then we'll be pushing all that information. We'll be sure to get it to you guys as well, as I'm sure you guys will be getting storm coverage, and we can share that through all of our social media pages, right? And as well, we typically get a lot of help from the Sheriff's Office and the Port Commission in getting that information out as well through their social media pages. So it'll be blanketed out pretty quickly tomorrow.
Yeah, and I know that you mentioned earlier about all of the different facets of government there for you guys, about making sure that y'all are preparing the best that you can to make sure that everything can flow well, water can get in and out very well. Let's talk a little bit about some of the preparations that I'm assuming y'all are doing today and tomorrow.
Yeah, so we have, thanks to the Sheriff's Office, we have inmate crews making sandbags today to try to catch up. We had a huge rain event, earlier this year around May that cost us some pre-filled sandbags, and while we've slowly been able to make a few, we're really going to catch up over the next couple of days in case we need any. Our public works crews are out doing last minute kind of stuff that will begin not only this afternoon before they break for the day, but we'll be back up closing things like Industrial Park, the flood wall that we have along the Intercoastal Waterway in La Rose, a couple of channel locks in des Allemands as we continue to close off some of the flood walls along Bayou des Allemands in that way. And then working with the levee districts, right? We have the brand new floodgate in Grand Bayou that is operational, but somewhat still under construction, that the contractor and the levee districts will begin to close. I'm anticipating at some point tomorrow in Grand Bayou, which will kind of lock off that southern end of the intercoastal forest and help protect not only a little bit of North Lafourche, but the Pointe-aux-Chenes community as well. And we will continue to work with the Lafourche Levee District to close off a couple of points with some HESCO baskets in places that we typically do when we see some potential storm surge. Most of that will happen tomorrow because we know, again, that time frame is going to be short, and we want to concentrate on the last minute things very early Saturday morning. So the bulk of the work is going to be done tomorrow. And something that we've gotten really good at. So it doesn't take us very long anymore. We've gotten a pretty good handle on how to do it.
Well, we're certainly very glad. I know Lafourche is very glad to have the leadership, and they can reach out to you for more information. Archie, thank you as always. We'll get through this storm. We'll probably talk to you over the course of that weekend as we normally do, but we always appreciate your time and your energy in taking care of the people of Lafourche.
No doubt, Keith. As I always say, hug your kids and say a prayer, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Archie. Again, Archie Chaisson, Lafourche Parish President, thank him for his time. All right, we appreciate you tuning in. Got a whole lot more Bayou time. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.